if I were to describe Wizards of the Coast, I would describe them like a pervert, a teenager that's a pervert, and he is in love with this lady that's called social justice, and he's like doing everything to try to please this woman that literally hates him. Like, they would go and collect the chewing gum that Lady Social Justice has threw into the bin and put it in a nice place into their bedroom. They would go and sniff the chair that Lady Social Justice has been sitting on. Like, they are willing to alienate everyone from their community just to please Lady Social Justice. This is how I describe Wizards of the Coast. And if you're unaware, like recently they've made this announcement that they're going to look into the orcs as a race, and they're going to look into dark elves as a race, because Lady Social Justice thinks that this is Wizards of the Coast trying to be racist, and this is what Wizards of the Coast is saying, that orcs are like black people, something that no person is saying, no normal person is thinking. In fact, the orcs have been done based on Nordic culture, like their invasion of Britain when the Vikings came, they invaded, and for the British person it looked like, oh my god, they're pillaging and they're plundering, and what can we do? Like, it's got absolutely nothing with black people. And the Drow, which are the equivalent of dark elves in Dungeons and Dragons, again, have absolutely nothing to do with African Americans, but Lady Social Justice thinks they do. So, of course, Wizards of the Coast are going to be, yes, my lady, we're going to change it. Heaven forbid we upset you, right? It's very funny. Now, if you go on their website and you try to buy one of their previous books or previous editions, it's actually going to come with a disclaimer. I'm not even kidding about it. Like, there's a disclaimer saying that this book contains racist depictions of orcs, things that Wizards of the Coast no longer stands by. However, we do not want to modify this because it would take away from history, and it reflects a time when America was really racismus, and we don't want to take away from that because we want you to see how we have progressed and how we have advanced in order to please Lady Social Justice, the queen of Dungeons and Dragons, ladies and gentlemen. But now, you got all sorts of interesting fellows that are into social justice producing content for Dungeons and Dragons, and some of it actually gets promoted by Wizards of the Coast. These are independent creators that do their thing, and honestly, I have nothing against them. But I'm looking at the creation coming from the far left, and it is so cringe. Some of them, though, some exceptions might be good, but when you look into it, no, it's cringe. For example, one of them created a chair, and they petitioned for Wizards of the Coast to make this official. They created a wheelchair that had combat capabilities. So, just the most moronic thing ever, right? You had rockets, and it allowed them to move faster in a wheelchair in order to create representation for disabled people. How dumb can you be? That person never spoke with a disabled person in their life. Because I have, I went to the hospital. Do you know what every single disabled person wants? To be able to walk. Why would that be in their fantasy? They would want to also be disabled is something that I don't understand, but Lady Social Justice knows. It's fascinating, right? Now, don't get me wrong, the idea of having an NPC in a wheelchair is pretty fucking cool. You could, I personally wanted to have, in my campaign, a powerful wizard that would have been in a wheelchair, right? The wizards have abilities that are incredibly powerful within the world of Dungeons and Dragons, but they don't have the ability to heal. So they can't heal things. And this wizard, right, he would have all the magic in the world, and the only thing that he would desire the most to be able to walk wouldn't be available to him. But he would still be a dangerous force, right? Because wizards don't require anything else but their torso and their hand. They don't require their legs. They're not doing frontline combat, right? So that would have been an interesting NPC, but it definitely wouldn't be there because of representation, right? No one that's disabled wants to be represented. The fantasy is to be something you're not. I don't want to be who I am in real life in Dungeons and Dragons. No, I want to be a muscular man with one girl hugging each of my legs, right? That is what a normal person fantasizes about. But anyway, right? So now there's another independent game, and this is for again like a social justice activist, I assume. And believe it or not, they have managed to focus on the worst aspect of Dungeons and Dragons and made it even worse. Like, I'm not criticizing this as in it shouldn't exist or anything like that, but like I'm genuinely wondering who would enjoy playing this game. Like, what type of crowd would this appeal to? Because it looks like absolute cancer. So, one of the things that I hate about Dungeons and Dragons is, and it's unavoidable, right? And every single role-playing game has it, is the group aspect of it. Now, when you play a video game, you get to do whatever you want with your character. And if you play in multiplayer, same thing. Right? You play World of Warcraft, well, you can do with your character pretty much whatever you want. There are some rules that the guild imposes on you, but other than that, you can do whatever you want. In Dungeons and Dragons, it's not like that. In Dungeons and Dragons, you have a group of adventurers, usually 3 to 5, and what any adventurer does influences the group as a whole. Like, what do I mean? Well, if you have a thief in the group and the thief decides to steal from a village, then the group still has to associate with the thief. They still have to travel together. So when the guards are coming, the entire group is now into trouble, right? So because of the action of one person subjecting themselves on the whole group, there's a severe lack of freedom on what you can and can't do. So for example, if my character would do something and he could live with the consequences, maybe other people of the group don't like that. So now I can't do what I want because I have to listen to the group, right? And it's, again, the group is more like a committee. And we know how bad committees are at deciding things. Like, you put the group into a position where they have to take a stance, and then they start deliberating and talking and throwing ideas before they finally take a decision, which most often than not is not even the correct decision that they could have made. And another problem is, let's say one of the people in the group is a murder hobo, right? Like he just flat out kills someone. Everyone knows it, but he does it because he's strong and no one can do anything against him. My character can't leave the group. Like, I would say, you know, I don't want to be associated with this person. This is not the type of person that I would like to have an adventure with. I want to leave. You can't do that, right? You're beholden to the group. You have to play together. So that's like why I don't like the only negative aspect that I can think about role-playing games. It's something that, you know, it's hardwired into the core mechanics. There's no way you can remove it. But, you know, like, despite all that, I still have fun. It's just like a negative thing. So what does this person do? Well, he created Rules and Roberts, a democratic role-playing game. Look at this shit, okay? For 3 to 3,000 players. Like, are you kidding me? Do you honestly think you're going to get 3,000 players playing a Dungeons and Dragons game? Like, are you for real? Like, can you even imagine how slow the campaign is going to go? I don't think the campaign is going to move at all. Easy to learn, no dice, nor complicated stats. Includes a set of hilarious campaigns, like this one, a social justice warrior, an intersectional paladin, a rogue worker. Yeah, no, this is absolute cancer. All right, a fantasy game designed by and for leftists. Now, I'm not saying, you know, this should be for me. It's not my cup of tea. But like, I wonder if even leftists are going to play this garbage. Like, look at this. Okay, so this is how the game is played. Like, you need to learn how to pass a motion, and if you're like for example, if your character needs to take a piss, like any action that you want your character to do now needs to be accepted by the group as a whole. So first you need to raise your hand and wait for the dungeon master to acknowledge you. Then you say, I move to, and you describe briefly and clearly the action you want to pursue. You don't have to explain your reasoning yet. Then you need to wait for other players to say second. And then you say it is moved and seconded that, and the dungeon master briefly restates the motion. And then you make your case, and then you get to a debate, absolute cancer. the question or the adoption of the motion that the DM closes the discussion and restates the motion. Those in favor of the motion raise his hands, and then people say A or nay. The players score experience points according to their alignment. So can you imagine, like, you're trying, like, how can you even get yourself immersed into a world when you're having these, like, I second the motion. I move that we recess until point of privilege, no, point of order, point of information. I move that we adjourn, that my character is going to take a piss. I mean, can you imagine, like, you're in a tavern, alright? And I want to seduce the tavern wench. I move to attempt a seduction on the tavern wench. Seconded, point of privilege, this is toxic masculinity and you shouldn't do this. Do you know the tavern wench? You do not. So why are you doing unsolicited advances towards her? My God, oh Dios mío, like, I'm really curious. You know, I would want to know. If anyone played this, and if they enjoyed it. Like, no, seriously, I would be Pikachu face at this point. I would genuinely be shocked. Shocked, I tell you. If a single person that I know has enjoyed this game, like, tell me. Maybe it's fun. You know, like, maybe it's fun. But to me, it looks like absolute, unadulterated, pure cancer. So again, nothing wrong with the politics of this game, nothing wrong, like, you can have a campaign about anything, but these rules, my God, I don't see how I can get immersion or enjoyment in playing this. I mean, all of these things with yay or nay, yeah, I mean, it works when you have, like, people talking legislation in a democracy and you have, like, 300 people in a parliament or something, like, I get that, but people in the parliament aren't trying to obtain immersion. They're not trying to go adventuring and slay a bunch of orcs. They're not deciding about individual decisions, like, you know, the Speaker of the House would like to go to the bathroom to take a piss. Seconded, you know. So no, I don't know what these people are thinking. Like, what is this for? Like, I guess it's so that they can get some prizes and awards. It's like, oh my God, this game is so progressive. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very progressive, but is it enjoyable? Is it in the spirit of Dungeons and Dragons? Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I'm going to be very interested in reading your replies.